time to get the heck out of Dodge and talk to the president of the PPTA. It is Chris Abercrombie. Good evening, sir.
Kia ora.
How are you?
Good. Yeah. No, it's been a big day. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think we need to do something first of all. I feel with that beard, Chewie, he has to be the top of the ticket. Do you agree? Like I just think the superior beard gets the priority. Hang on, if it gets the priority position, that means it should be like this as well. You know, the bottom. So I think that seems fair.
I just need to acknowledge the fact that the chat has been admiring your beard during your media rounds like all week. So we're very glad to have you here.
You guys commented on that, I think, earlier in the week, and it was some of the most feedback I've ever got from friends and family. You've been commented about here.
It's like, you know, go on One News, doesn't mean anything. Go on here, doesn't mean anything. BHN, through the roof.
Talk about your beard, that's it. You've made it.
Dude. Hey, I think what we'll do, Chris, is we'll have a look at the story from One News. It's only about 2.5 minutes. That'll give us a bit of a nutshell from around the country, and then we'd love to get into a few of the nuts and bolts with you and find out more about, you know, why this happened, what's happening next, you know, what the government thinks they're doing with a 1% offer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So why don't we start there? We will start with Mr. Simon Dallow and tonight's One News item talking about the strike.
Following the high school teachers' strike today, the Public Service Commissioner says work's underway on a revised pay offer, but he's still calling the union's current claim unaffordable and unreasonable, saying the PPTA has refused to offer any real compromise. Sophie.
Naughty PPTA, eh? Naughty.
We're the
troublemakers.
19,000 teachers off the job today. With many.
It's the music department from Akaroa School, I'm thinking.
I reckon.
What? One teacher on a trumpet?
Gathering across dozens of locations around the country. All protesting a pay offer the unions dubbed the worst in a generation.
The offer that the government gave us was just insulting, honestly. They got a pay rise, they gave themselves a pay rise.
Teachers say it's not only about the government's pay offer, but also about the increasing workload and challenges they face. Not to mention big changes in the education system, such as the upcoming overhaul of NCEA.
The workload goes on.
Always a lot of planning, there's always a lot of evaluation.
We've got an ageing profession, over 1,000 roles currently advertised.
Recent comments from ministers have also fueled frustrations, particularly this one last week.
Someone with 10 years experience is on about $140,000.
Which the minister's since admitted she got wrong.
A whole load of rubbish. I'm really angry about that. I'm really hurt.
There's no way that teachers are anywhere near that.
If you are earning $147,000, you are not a teacher. I've been teaching for 24 years, and my average paycheck hasn't shown up yet.
Some made comparisons with politicians' pay.
It used to be a time where teachers and MPs were paid the same. It's really disappointing when they start talking about, you know, what teachers...
Hey, Chewie, it's the guy on the telly.
There's two of them. There's two of them.
Be paid when
Something's going on.
We need a well-resourced, well-supported workforce.
The education ministers accused the union of using our kids as bargaining chips.
The bargaining seats were barely warm by the time they decided to go on their strike. And if you look at all the slick marketing that they had prepared and all of the venues that they had booked, it looks extraordinarily like it was premeditated.
The PPTA rejects that it's bargained in bad faith, saying it explains the need for a reasonable pay increase, more pastoral care staffing and professional development.
In the new agreement, it's 1% pay plus a bunch of clawbacks of things that we've already fought for, and we won't stand for it.
Students return to school desks tomorrow and their teachers to the bargaining table next week. Sophie Trigger, One News.
All right, there's the One News story, Chris. Why don't you give us a bit of a nutshell about what you saw today, what you were up to today, and let's hear about today from your perspective. What happened? What went on?
Oh, well, from my perspective, it was a really successful strike day. You know, we had pickets all around the country, you know, amazing teachers out there sharing their stories about the issues we're facing in education at the moment. I was up in Auckland with about 100 teachers outside Erica's office. You know, really, really awesome little mini rally. We did some singing, we had some speeches, and just talking to teachers about the stuff they're dealing with every day.
I want to ask a question based on an interview we're going to do in a wee while. We're going to look at this now. I mean, sure, we'll look at this after you've gone. David Seymour this morning said this, and it's really important. Like it feels like the $127,000 nurses and the $147,000 teachers, and that these guys are just throwing out numbers that come back to not being accurate. I mean, Judith has said that she made a mistake. She's withdrawn. I'm sure the ramifications from those words flow on, though, because, you know, 10% of people will hear the apology where 100% of them heard the actual accusation. But in an interview we're about to watch, David Seymour says this. This is a direct quote. Teachers' pay has gone up about 14% in the last few years. Now, he's suggesting, I guess, that this means they're being difficult. It might only be a 1% one this year, but it's been 14% over the last few years. Can you shine some light on that statement for us?
So the number's about right, but what he's missing is the context of that. That was after industrial action. That was after an independent arbitration panel, you know, went and said, actually, this is what teachers need. And it's still actually far behind. We need, for us to be right now, teachers to be at 1985 levels of median wage, need an 11% increase today to be back to Muldoon era pay rates. You know, and so, you know, that's where we sort of judge ourselves is that level there. We like, you know, we know when it's a bit technical, but when we're 1.74% of the median wage, that's when we have really good recruitment. We've got really good retention, and we need 11% today to get us back to Muldoon era, that level. So that's not incorrect what he said, but it's missing a lot of context.
So the 14% you're saying is correct.
Yeah.
But that hasn't even got you back to pay parity with the mid-80s.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And it's just, and also that was a catch up of years of underpay. And as I say, like that, we had to have the hardest industrial action we've done in 20 years. We went to an independent arbitration panel. First time we've done that since the early 2000s. And it's just, you know, we had to really go all out to get that.
Chewie, jump in and ask a question because I'm going to talk about the $147,000 shortly.
I find the timing of all of this quite interesting. Like, there's your guys' pay negotiation and industrial action happening at the same time that the government is saying our educational achievement is in the toilet, our literacy is in the toilet, NCEA isn't working, so we've got to throw that out the window. Also, the curriculum's fucked, so we've pulled a new one out of John Key's side hustle, and we want to implement that in just a couple of months. Do you find that this stuff going hand in hand is just the way things are, or do you think it's a tactic to go, these teachers asking for more money and doing a bad job is part of it?
It definitely feels that way. And same with the charter schools. David Seymour talking about charter schools, and they've mentioned performance pay for teachers and all of this. It all feels very, very connected. And we know, like, when we've just got so much change, like as you mentioned, the curriculum and assessment, like this is the changes that they're suggesting are as significant as when we move from school cert to NCA. Like it's the same level. And it's just, you know, they just don't seem to be wanting teachers available to do that work. Like, it's just crazy.
There's about 105,000 teachers in New Zealand, all teachers, right across the whole thing. This is the thing I worked out the other day, and I've revised it a little bit. Right now, today, the government could give all 105,000 of those teachers a $6,000 pay rise today. Slap, boom, there, done. That would cost $630 million. The week after, they've told us it's costing $671 million to cancel the ferries. Of course, that then includes $3 billion back to landlords, $14 billion in tax cuts. This is not a big expense to put a decent offer on the table. The other thing that we're going to, and I don't want to kind of burn all the, whatever it's called, about powder dry. The other thing that the guys talk about off the Herald this morning, which we'll watch later, is But we've got no money. This is what both Ryan Bridge and David said, but there's no money to actually pay people more. And then I go, $3 billion to landlords, $14 billion in tax cuts, $1 billion to big tobacco, 671 million to no ferries. There is enough money. It's just what they choose to do with that money.
It's all a choice. It's all a political choice. That's all this is. And I've got no time for the there's no money conversation, because there's money for, if you make the choice, if you wanted to fund education, if you wanted to fund health, if you wanted to fund social services, the money's there. It's just a political choice. And so today's like today is to try and change that political choice. That's the point of industrial action.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing sorry, Joe, you go.
Sorry, I was going to say, words out of Judith Collins' own mouth. If the money is needed, the money can be found. I mean, she was talking about helicopters, which are much cooler than teachers. But still, the logic stands, doesn't it?
Yeah. If you value it, and we talk about this in education, if you value it, you resource it. As simple as that, and so it's really clear what the government values.
Yeah. Judith Collins, I'm just having a look for something for you, Chewie. You should have given me a heads up, shouldn't you? Judith Collins on spending, how much was it? 9 billion? Is that right?
Oh, it's definitely capital B billion.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And this is
out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Not budgeted for, not in the financial budget or anything like that. Yeah. We need to do more for military, so
because
lazy 8 or 9 billion, because it needed to be found.
Yeah, this is it.
Look, the money will be found because it has to be found. So it's it's a lot of money, but it's needed.
It's a lot of money, but it's needed, which means teachers, you guys, your money is not needed for you, because she said very clearly that if it's needed, of course we'll find it. There's plenty down the back of the couch. We'll just go looking for it where we want. We want helicopters, but teachers, it's not needed. The question that Chewie brought up before, the thing about the NCEA changes, when they first talked about it in the news, they were like to be fully implemented by 2030. And I was a bit like, well, 5 years to bed something in, that's probably okay. And then they went, and it's starting, the changes are starting next year in year 9, like their changes. So it's 4 months. Yeah. So 4 months for changes for year 9s. And we're in a consultation period, so that's going to be a couple of months. So it's going to be 2 months for changes for the complete way that year 9s are taught. How are teachers reacting to that? What's going to happen with that?
I mean, the reality is it's the timelines are just far too tight, and we know what happens when you rush it. It turns to shit, to be frank. And so we know that everyone wants a good curriculum, everyone wants a good assessment. Everyone wants that. And so to do that, you need time and you need resourcing. You cannot rush these things. If you want it done cheap, you rush it, go for it. But if you want it good, you have to give it time and resource. And at the same time, this is the other thing, teachers are going to be doing new curriculum, new assessment, old assessment. There's going to be crossover of all of that at the same time. And, this may be the best curriculum ever and it may be the best assessment, but if you don't have the workforce to do it, it's pointless.
So on some levels, it's almost like until that gets bedded in for the whole secondary school, teachers are doing 2 different jobs, double the work.
Absolutely.
And you can have 1% if you're lucky.
And you can have, if you're lucky, 1%, yeah.
I do want to look at.
Don't worry, we got a pay rise a few years ago, so it's fine.
I do want to have a look at this, and I'll go back and find the name of the person who sent this to me. I'm grateful for it. Really interesting, and we know that they've admitted that the 147,000's not the case, but there's a TikTok or a Facebook, whatever this is here, which actually spells out how wrong it is to get that into people's heads.
Apparently, teachers can make up to $147,000. I thought it would be a good time to actually dig into some maths and show you guys a few things. Now, to look at this in normal distribution curve, we've got 147,000 here. In the middle, we've got 100,000. And then the beginning teacher, who actually end up here, on roughly, let's go, 65,000. This little group that end up making up to 147,000, these guys are usually DPs and the associate principal of something that level. So it's pretty much the top of the scale that we're talking about. Right now, in the Education Gazette, there is roughly 1,006 vacancies. The number of jobs that actually offer 147K is a total of 2. That's correct. There is only 2 jobs where you can actually get more than 140,000, and that's out of 1,006 jobs that are actually advertised.
So I think that kind of puts that to bed fully. But I think I saw you take a breath in there, Chewie. There is another question to be asked about 1,000 jobs being advertised. Can we speak to that?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely ridiculous. I've been a head of department, I've been a dean, and to have that many jobs advertised, that's primary and secondary, because I had to look on the Gazette yesterday as well, because I wanted to see, actually, is there any 147,000 jobs going?
Yeah, there's 2.
There's two, yeah.
You can have one of those.
And for that many jobs to be advertised right now, this time of year, is just ridiculous. Like, normally in October, that was when I was a student teacher, that was what it was talked about. October was the big time. You got your big thick ed gazette, and that's when you started applying for jobs. But to have 1,000 now before the peak season is just ridiculous.
So you're saying your expectation is it'll be bigger in a month than 1,000?
Yeah, and in October, you'll start people will start making decisions about what they're going to do in the next year. Schools will start making decisions around staffing, and I'll expect that to be above 1,000. Another 200, 300, 400 jobs, I'd say.
Wow. Gosh, that's the thing about that. If there's 1,005 teachers and you're up towards 1,500, you're around the 1% mark. 1% of teachers positions are available. That seems huge. Could you imagine anything else in this country to have that kind of that number or that proportion of jobs needed? Or people? Yes, Chewie.
I do. I can think of one.
As it's the other guys that are
sounds
striking.
very much like the nurses situation, right? It's not just about money, it's about conditions.
Yeah.
When we talk about education and they go, oh, we're not getting the educational achievements that we want to, and we're going to blame it on fucking who knows what. But we know what it is. It's teacher to student ratios, just like with the nurses. Nurses to patients from a point of view of safety. So it is pay and conditions. And these 2 huge job, I hate calling them industries. The teacher industry, because you work in an educational factory. But you get what I mean there, is that we had the same parallels happening, and we're seeing the same response from the ministers involved as well, where it's like, well, the nurses go on strike where you're putting patients at risk. The teachers go on strike, then they're putting all of these kids' education at risk. It's so selfish. Why are these people selfish? And, because I'm going to mention their pay scale, greedy. Yeah. And in both cases, it has very quickly been proven to be a lie. It's almost exactly the same.
Yeah. And it's quite funny. You may have seen the minister talk about our slick marketing and all that. And I'm like, well, we're not the one coordinating all together with the mates, like you guys are all doing. So I found that quite funny. We've got one person doing some pretty awesome social media, but that's about it.
I just like, their campaign's really slick, and they've booked all of these locations around, and it's like, have you not noticed that you're talking about the teachers with an entire arts and crafts department? And have you seen teachers organising field trips and stuff? They can get shit done. And you're pissed off an entire union full of them.
There's a bit of a meme going around about with Erica Stanford saying, how do you book the footpath outside Macca's? I need to know for a friend.
One other thing, Chris, we sort of came to the conclusion last week that with the government doing this, exactly what Chewie's saying, but won't we think of the children? They're harming the children. They're harming the patients. What that is that's the language of an abuser, I can't leave this relationship because of the kids. That's what this government's doing. So this government's actively setting themselves in a position where they are using language that an abusive male would use towards his partner to keep her in check because she's got to look after the kids. I think that's fair, and I think that needs to be spoken of more as to what these guys are up to. Because as Chewie said, and then you guys turn up to be greedy as well. Because you're flashing the cash. It's not on, and we need more people up there speaking about it and talking about it.
And I think too, like, it's just none of us want industrial action. None of us want to be here. We want to be in the classroom. That's why you become a teacher, to teach. You know, you don't do it to stand on picket lines and stand in the rain in cases in a lot of places around there in the cold. And you do it because you want to teach, and you love teaching, and you love helping the next generation. But the biggest threat to our young people in education is not having subject specialist teachers in front of them. You know, we talked about that 1,000 jobs at the moment. We know, we've surveyed principals, the least amount of applicants per job we've ever had since we've started 1996. So it's on average 1.47 applicants per job. And so we know schools are taking people because they are legally allowed to be in the classroom. Then they need someone to be there.
The media is reporting that the ministry is going to relook at their offer. A, do you have much faith in that? B, what happens next?
I always get accused of being an optimist, so I'm always optimistic. I think teachers have to be frank. So we're meeting next week with them on Monday, Tuesday next week, more mediated bargaining. And look, I'm really hopeful that we can get a deal, but I'm also not holding my breath.
What do they have to do? Because I understand the 1% offer wasn't even presented. And the government's going like, meh. I get that. It's like telling your real estate agent if you want $800K for your house, that not to even bother with anything under $750, just decline it. We don't need to speak to you. So I get it. That's not a big problem. What do they need to do for you guys to take it to the members?
So pay needs to go up. Let's just be really clear about that. It needs to be raised. But there's other really key areas, and you saw it in the story, like pastoral care. Like we really need more pastoral care time. So the way I sort of like explaining it to people, think of it like a triangle. So you've got guidance counselors at the top, right? They're dealing with the high needs. But the problem is there's no support in the community. So they're dealing with stuff they shouldn't really be dealing with, like that's community mental health, whatever. Youth mental health services should be dealing with it, but they just don't exist or they're not available. So they're dealing with really high end. And then the triangle is pushed down to deans. So deans are dealing with stuff they shouldn't be dealing with because the guidance counselors can't deal with it, so it's getting pushed down. And then what deans should be dealing with is getting pushed down to teachers. So they're not getting focused on the teaching and learning or actually dealing with that really low level stuff that just now gets ignored because there's no time. So we really need pastoral care time. Our young people are just, it's so hard, I think, for older people to sort of understand the world these teenagers live in. Like,
yeah.
I sort of joke, when I was at school, my students said, did bullying happen? I said, of course it happened. But I said, no one rang up the landline to go, hello, Mrs. Abercrombie, can I please bully your son? And so they're just dealing with the constant 24-hour nature of the world. And it's so different. And I think a lot of us don't really understand, unless you're around teenagers, don't really understand what they're dealing with.
Yeah. Anything else, Chewie?
Yeah, so I mentioned the nurses and the very similar situation that they're in there. Does the teachers' union and the nurses' union coordinate?
I wouldn't go as far to say coordinate for legal reasons. No.
Right. You might happen to be at the same cafe and hear the conversation from the table next door. And
exactly. Well, we've gone to their strikes. We had a nurse speak at ours. We had the firefighters come and speak. The firefighters have been amazingly supportive because they're dealing with really similar issues, these really cornerstone parts of our society, are really struggling. And so we're absolutely talking with other unions, through the CTU and other organizations. And our members, they're like, hey, look, NZEI primary schools, they're doing paid union meetings at the moment. Nurses are on strike. Firefighters are going to go on strike. Public servants. Let's have these conversations to see what we can do.
But if all of those things happened at the same time and there was strike action at the same time, that is purely a coincidence, and it's just it's just how the schedules worked out.
Exactly.
Right.
And also, I can't tell nurses what to do, and nurses can't tell us what to do. But if we all happen to agree, it's sort of planned. If it happens, is what I'm going to say.
Chris, let Pip know that if you guys ever need to come on, talk to us. You're always welcome. Don't sit back and have us reach out to you guys. You guys are more than welcome to come to us and come on whenever you like. It's been, if for no other reason, we could just put you in the corner, just so you could sit there with your beard.
Exactly.
And anytime we needed to have a thought, we could rub the magic beard or something, and that would work quite well.
No, I love it. And you mentioned Robert Patman. I mean, I took his Polls 101 when I was at Otago Uni, and so no, it's always great watching him too.
Yeah, cool. Hey, well, thanks for joining us. I mean, like, I don't know how you quite say pass on our best to all the teachers. We'll do that anyway.
We'll do.
But,
Absolutely.
But don't be a stranger. Come back again, and we'll talk to you super soon. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.
All the best, Chris.
Cheers, mate.